بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فأما بعد, my dear brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us these beautiful stories of the Anbiya alayhimus salam in the Quran, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described for us societies and people and times and places that we were not aware of. And for example, in the cases of things like the society of the Ad and the Thamud, the society of to which the people to whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Nuh alayhi salam and Saleh alayhi salam, to Hud alayhi salam and Saleh alayhi salam. We are now doing the story of Hud alayhi salam. Inshallah, bismillah ta'ala, we will do the other Anbiyas also. This story of the Ad was not known, even though the Ad are called the ancestors of the Arabs, they are called the old Arabs. These stories were not known. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had not mentioned them in the Quran, then they would be completely lost to history. Now that itself is a sign, that itself is something to think about, because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described those people, Allah said these people were maybe perhaps the most powerful people of their time. They had enormous wealth. They were obviously enormously arrogant. And one of their standards, one of their famous statements which Allah mentioned in the Quran is Man ashadu minna quwwa, who is stronger than us. Now imagine when a person reaches that point where they say that I am the greatest, I am the smartest, I am the most powerful, then this is a sign of very clear sign of arrogance. And that is something which is, if a person doesn't retract that, doesn't come back from that, then it's something which is almost completely, definitely, which portends and which signals disaster. Right? In more modern times, one of the classic ones is the Titanic, where it is reported that the designer of the ship, and whoever said that, he said even God cannot sink this ship. And as we say, the rest is history. So as far as the story of Hud alayhi salam goes, these ayat I had recited for you in the last session also, but just to keep the tasalsul and keep the connection with the session, let me quickly recite them again. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كذبت عاد المرسلين إذ قال لهم أخوهم هود ألا تتقون إني لكم رسول أمين فاتقوا الله وأطيعون وما أسألكم عليه من أجر إن أجري إلا على رب العالمين أتبنون بكل ريع آية تعبثون وتتخذون مصانع لعلكم تخلدون وإذا بطشتم جبارين فاتقوا الله وأطيعون واتقوا الذي أمدكم بما تعلمون أمدكم بأنعام وبنين وجنات وعيون إني أخاف عليكم عذاب يوم عظيم قالوا سواء علينا أوعظت أم لم تكن من الواعظين إن هذا إلا خلق الأولين وما نحن بمعذبين فكذبوه فأهلكناهم إن في ذلك لآية وما كان أكثرهم مؤمنين وإن ربك لهو العزيز الرحيم. My brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned these ayat in the in Surah Al-Shu'ara, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the people of Ad, they belied, they denied the messengers when their brother Hud said to them, will you not fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's anger, will you not fear Allah and obey Him? Verily I am a trustworthy messenger to you, so fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, keep your duty to Him, have taqwa of Allah and obey me. No reward do I ask of you for it. My reward is only from the Rabb of the Alameen, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you build high palaces on every high place while you do not live in them? And do you get for yourself palaces and fine buildings as if you will live therein forever? And when you cease as tyrants. So fear Allah, keep your duty to Him, have taqwa of Allah and obey me, and keep your duty to Him and fear Him, the one who has aided you with all good things that you know. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fear to anger the one who gave you everything, fear to disobey the one who gave you everything. And He has aided you with cattle and children and gardens and springs. Verily I fear for you the torment of a great day. They said, it is the same to us whether you preach or do not preach, or you are from those who do not preach. This is no other than false tales and religion of the ancients, because we are modern people. We don't need this. Huh? Can you see the similarities in the language? Nothing changes with human beings. Our stupidity continues unabated, and we are not going to be punished. And so they belied Him, and Allah said, and we destroyed them. Verily in this indeed is a sign, yet most of them are not believers. And verily your Rabb. My brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the people of Ad, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us what they did and how they did it. My brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then Allah told us what they did, which is that they still denied. I mean, despite the fact that they were being warned, despite the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was Hud alayhi salam, if you think about this, Hud alayhi salam is describing in the Quran, this story is describing for us this scene of the culture and of the people. And think about that, how similar that is to what we see around us today. I don't just mean the antics and the games of the uber rich, of the super rich. And may Allah bless us, and may Allah protect us from ourselves. Even in the super rich, the stupidity and the ostentation and the shameless squandering of resources and wealth is seen the maximum among Muslims. If you think about that, you do not see that among people who are equally wealthy, in some cases who are far more wealthy. But you see that in Muslims. Where do you see all these gold-plated cars and all that sort of stuff? I'm not here to make a list of you. You know all this stuff better than I do. But where do you see all this stuff, right? In Muslims, in Muslim countries. What is it telling us? This is what Allah is saying. Allah is saying that, look, there were people in the past who did all of this. It's nothing new. Been there, done that. Seen there, been there, seen that. Been there, done that. Everybody is nothing new in life. Whatever you are doing today, somebody else did that before you. And the reason that you are being told these stories is not for entertainment, it is not for fun, it's not because it's not for so that you can pass your time. It is so that it is drawn to your attention to say that, look, you have a system, you have a situation where somebody just like you did what you did, with the exception that in their case you also know where it ended. Right? You know where it ended. So now in your case, you don't know where you will end, because we don't have knowledge of the future. But if you are taking a particular model and you're saying, here is a model, and people who lived according to this model came to this bad end, I am living according to the same model. If I believe that I will come to a good end, then what does it say about my sanity? Einstein is famously reported to have said, I don't remember the exact words, but effectively he said that to do the same thing and expect a different result is a sign of insanity. To do the same thing and expect a different result is a sign of insanity. And I think this is a very important and very correct statement that Albert Einstein made. And we need to think about that. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the case of Hud alayhi salam, in the case of all the Anbiya alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us the stories of the prophets, has told us the stories of the Anbiya, has told us the stories of the people to whom these Anbiya alayhi salam were sent, so that we can look at the models that are presented before us. And we can look at it and say that here is somebody who lived his life, here are some people or an individual who lived their life in a particular way, and they came to this ending. The ending was, whether it was good or bad, here was the ending. Now I am living my life, and when I look at my life looks almost exactly the same as the life of this person. Then do I expect an ending to be very different from that person's ending? If I am doing that, I am in sin. Because if that person lived his or her life in that way and they came to that ending, and I am living my life also in the same way, then the logical thing, the sensible thing, the sane thing is to remember that my ending will also be the same. Now, if that ending is a good ending, alhamdulillah, that is why we say live your life like the one whose ending was the best, whose method is the best, whose destination is the best, which is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we follow his example because we know that this results in something good. So here is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He led his life in this way. He helped people. He stood for the truth. He was trustworthy. He built a beautiful system of Islam where he promoted everything which is good. He forbade everything which was evil, and the result is what we see. Alhamdulillah, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's position with Allah subhanahu wa taala, insha'Allah. On the other hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the example of different people. He gave us the example of, in this case, the people of Ad, in the case of Salih alayhi salam, the people of Thamud, in the case of Nuh alayhi salam, his people, in the case of Musa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the example of Fir'aun, of Egypt, and so on. And all of this is for what? Is for us to look at our life and say, maybe that in terms of history, they lived 1,000 years ago, they lived 5,000 years ago, but in terms of principles, in terms of structures, in terms of systems and processes, in terms of societies, there is a huge reflection. It's almost like looking at yourself. The only difference is in terms of, for example, building palaces on high places. The only difference is they built those palaces of stone, and they didn't have air conditioning, and they didn't have Wi-Fi, whereas we have palaces which are also of stone, but maybe we use some other different materials, and we have air conditioning and Wi-Fi. What is the difference? The mentality, as they say, the difference between men and boys is the price of their toys. The mentality over which drives a particular decision, if the mentality does not change, the decision will never change. As you know, I'm a consultant in leadership, and my specialty is family businesses. And one of the things that I do in my family business consulting is conflict resolution, and in cases arbitration between family members. And one of the things that I teach people, and I tell people, and I tell my family business consultants, is that the conflicts that you are seeing today among your sons, usually it is only sons, but in your family, where the sons are now in their 40s, he said this conflict started when the same children of yours were 1 and 2 year old and 3 year old in the nursery. What did you train them to do? In the nursery, when these two kids were 2 and 3 years old, there was one dinky toy, there was one car, and these two were fighting over the car. What was your reaction? How did you deal with that? So they said, we used to tell them, no, don't worry, don't fight about it, I'll get you your own car. Very nice. So that was your reaction, right? What else could you have said? And now the sheepish look comes on the face. They said, what, we could have taught them to share that car. You say, look, this car belongs to both of you. Take care of the car. Give each other that car. Give your brother the car and enjoy the smile on his face. All these were options. You could have taught them all of this. Instead of that, you said to them, don't worry, don't fight, I will get you another car. Fast forward 40 years, now what? Now it's not a dinky toy, it is your organization, it is your company, it is that business you spent your whole life to build. Now they are fighting tooth and nail over that. And what was the training that you gave them? I will give you your own. Today you can't give them their own, so what do? They split it down the middle. So your work, your lifetime's work is split. They go back to square one, and that is in the best of situations. In the worst of situations is not only do they split the business down the middle, they split themselves down the middle. The family also breaks up. There is rancor and there is bad feeling between brothers and between the families of brothers. All of it starts where? In the nursery. Why am I telling you this in a Anbiya class? Because this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us. Allah is saying the story of Firaun is not it's not Egyptian history. It's not something that Allah is teaching us so that we can just know as a matter of interest. What were the times of Ramesses the fourth or Ramesses the second? What were his times like? No, Allah is not telling us the story of Ad and Thamud and so forth because He wants us to know about ancient Arabs. No, Allah is teaching us these stories. Allah is telling us these stories so that we understand the mental frameworks, the thought process, the assumptions, the beliefs, the systems, the practices which they practiced, so that we understand and we take this template and say that if somebody who practiced these things, where did it lead them? And then we take it to ourselves and say, do I see a reflection of this in my life? Do I see a reflection of this in my society? And if I am seeing a reflection of this in my society, why am I assuming that my ending will be different from their ending? These were people who worshipped wealth. These were people who were arrogant because they had wealth. They forgot who gave them the wealth. They were arrogant because they were strong. They were physically strong. They had military power. They became arrogant. They forgot who created them. They forgot who gave them that power and strength and authority. They forgot why it was given to them. You are given wealth, you are given strength, you are given authority, you are given knowledge in order to do good. You are given strength to help the weak. You are given knowledge to help the ignorant. You are given scientific information and knowledge so that you can help people to alleviate their suffering and their pain. You are given strength so that you can fight for the weak. You can support the weak. You are given wealth so that you can ensure that there is no one who goes to bed hungry in your society. But instead of that, what do? You corner the wealth. You corner the strength. Just yesterday, I was listening to a congressional inquiry where this lady politician, may Allah bless her and make people like her, she is questioning the CEO of this pharma company, and she is showing how this pharma pill, one pill, costs $530 or $540, and she is she's showing him how in his bonus, he's getting a bonus on the amount of profit the company makes. And she showed him how tripling the price of the tablet, and this tablet is used, it is for something which affects senior citizens, elderly people. And she says that the elderly person, average elderly person in that place has a bank balance of $560. This one pill costs $540. If they pay, they cannot even afford to buy one single pill. And as a result of tripling that price of the pill, she says to this man that you got a bonus of $200 and something million. Right? He has a compensation package of $17 or $18 million a year, out of which $2 million came out of the profit, which directly is linked with the price of that tablet, which was tripled. And then she says, is there anything new in this tablet? Have you done anything else from what the price of the tablet was before you tripled it? Is there any addition? Is it a more effective medicine? And what? The man is, you will see his face. I mean, he looks like he's so sheepish, and I don't even know whether the man feels guilty or not. But anyway, there he looks ashamed. So the man says that the manufacturing process is the same. He's trying to fog it. He's trying to use 20 words when he can use one, yes and no. But if he goes, but she does not let him go, and she said, this is what our society is. So think about that. You are given knowledge of medicine, you're given knowledge of science in order to make money, in order to make yourself personally wealthy at the cost of people who cannot. You create medicines which people cannot buy, and then of course these medicines they are able to, they get to buy thanks to insurance packages. So now the insurance companies are also getting rich in the process. Those people who have insurance get the medicine, who don't have insurance cannot even get the medicine, they have to die. This is our society. This is our society. The blind pursuit of wealth for the sake of wealth. Nothing else. Blind pursuit of wealth. We just want to have wealth so that we can show off. Where I'm sitting a little way away from here is a marina, and in that marina I saw the other day, I went there, I saw these two yachts. There's a black one and a white one. Amazing, absolutely fabulous machines, huge, massive yachts which are sitting there. And I've been in some of these things, so I know what the inside looks like. It's fabulous. It's beautiful interiors and this and that and all kinds of yacht design is something phenomenal, because they have to fit in all sorts of stuff in a limited space. So there's lots of creativity in terms of how the whole thing is designed. So there's this there are these two yachts sitting there. I asked somebody, I said, how often do they go out? Do the owners of the yachts, do they come, and maybe every weekend they're going somewhere, maybe they're going to Florida from here or something. They had a big laugh. He said, what are you talking about? He said, these yachts have been sitting here for the last 3 years. He said, they don't even go out for a round. I said, why not? He said, because to afford a yacht like that, you have to be sitting in Wall Street manipulating accounts. You have to be sitting in Wall Street buying and selling on futures and stocks and so on and so forth. You have no time to come and ride in your own yacht. I said, then why have it? He said, because that is, he entertains his clients and so on. So his clients come, and sometimes maybe a client is big enough or important enough to go for a drive on this yacht, or he has parties on this yacht, so you involved his wining and dining on the yachts. That's it. I said, what does it cost to keep the yacht here? He gave me an obscene figure, because the rental of just parking the yacht in the marina, and then you can't just park a boat. It just deteriorates. So it has regular maintenance. It has a full crew. The crew is paid, and every day the boat is polished and this and that. All this happens, and all of this is for show. There is nothing else. The man who owns it himself cannot enjoy it, because that is the price that you pay when you want to live that lifestyle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the story of Hud alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us this. Allah is saying there's nothing new. This is nothing new. You have a yacht, Firaun had yachts. You have a yacht, somebody else had yachts, right? You have a palace, somebody else had a bigger palace. That is the ruin that you are now going to see as a tourist, and taking pictures and saying, oh, look at this and look at that. Yeah? Think about that. We go to Fatehpur Sikri and we see the palace of Akbar. Today it's bare walls, and the biggest population there is langurs. But in the time in Akbar's heyday, when he was the emperor, what was in that? You would see brocades, and you would see Persian carpets, silk carpets, and you would see thrones, and you would see jewelry, and you would see, wining and dining, and you would see people going back and forth, and servants and slaves and whatnot. Where is all that? Today there are langurs. Today you have monkeys. My brothers and sisters, the issue is to learn, and that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us these ayat. So here Hud alayhi salam is telling these people that Allah gave you wealth, Allah gave you strength, Allah gave you power, Allah gave you authority, and you are misusing all of them. And not only are you misusing all of them, you are challenging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. So he's telling them, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fear the day that you will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that day is going to come. That day is going to come. Fear the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Listen to me because I am the messenger. I am giving you good advice. I don't ask any remuneration from you. I don't ask you for compensation. You listen to me because it is good for you. My compensation, my remuneration, my resource, my my return is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. My brothers and sisters, seriously, let us understand this is the reason why we do these stories. So in the case of these people of Hud alayhi salam, Allah tested them one last time, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought a drought on them. So they were going through this hardship of drought and there is no rain. And if they had repented and returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they had done istighfar and tawbah, perhaps they would be saved. But they didn't do that. Right? They didn't do that. Instead, they went to the Kaaba. They went to the Kaaba and they prayed for rain. And then suddenly they saw that a big dark cloud rose up in the air. And when they saw the cloud, they were very happy. Oh, fantastic. These are big nimbus clouds, big, heavy rain clouds, and we are going to get a lot of rain. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this in Surah Al-Ahqaf. فَلَمَّا رَآهُ عَارِضًا مُسْتَقْبِلًا أوديتهم قالوا هذا عارض ممطرون بل هو ما استعجلتم به ريح فيها عذاب أليم تدمر كل شيء بأمر ربها. Complete destruction. فأصبحوا لا يرى إلا مساكنهم كذلك نجزي القوم المجرمين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and when they saw it as a dense cloud coming towards their valleys, they said, this is a cloud bringing us rain. Nay, but it was that torment which you were asking to be hastened, a wind wherein is a painful torment, destroying everything by the command of its Rabb. So they became such that nothing could be seen except their dwellings. Thus do we recompense the people who are the mujrimun, who are the sinners, who are the criminals. And that's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever he saw dense clouds, he used to pray for protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَأَمَّا عَادٌ فَأُهْلِكُوا بِرِيحٍ صَرْصَرٍ عَاتِيَةٍ سخرها عليهم 7 ليال و8 أيام حسوما فترى القوم فيها صرعى كأنهم أعجاز نخل خاوية فهل ترى لهم من باقية. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, as for the Ad, they were destroyed by a furious, violent wind which Allah imposed on them for 7 nights and 8 days in succession, so that you could see men lying overthrown and destroyed as if they were hollow trunks of date palms. Do you see any remnants of them? My brothers and sisters, really, if you think about this, go to Google and go to YouTube and look up some videos of tornadoes. What happens when there is a tornado? Now, this tornado is a furious wind, and when it comes, usually you will find that a tornado moves over land like that. And it's like a vacuum cleaner, literally. As it moves, it picks up everything from the land. So if it's a house, the roof goes. If it's, cars, the cars go. People go. Crops, trees, whatnot. And they just got sucked up and they're gone, right? Completely destroyed, smashed to pieces, bits and pieces flying all over the place. If the tornado comes in the sea, it sucks up huge quantities of water. And then when it comes on the land, it drops that in the huge floods. If there are boats, the boats get sucked up. Now imagine, this is something which is moving. So if you look at the time that it stays in one place on the land, we are usually talking about seconds. Maybe it is minutes, right? But nothing more than minutes. You don't even have a tornado sitting in one place for 1 hour. You've got minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes in one place, and there is nothing left. After that, there's only sand, right? Now, this tornado which came to the people of Ad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed for this tornado to sit in that place for 7 days and 8 nights. Imagine what happens. Just think about that. 7 days and 8 nights, this wind didn't let up. This wind stayed there for 7 days and 8 nights. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying the only thing that was left was stone. Right? They're building their stones, and that also not because the wind couldn't move them, but because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose to leave them there as a sign for people to see and a sign for people to learn from. And as for the Ad themselves, those who were so proud of their fantastic physique and their muscle and their power and so on and so forth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said they were like cut trunks, hollow trunks of date palms. So they were big people, but they were lying there like scattered crop. Date palms have been cut, thrown, so they're lying here, scattered here and there. What does that tell us? What does that tell us? Again, look at stories and look at things in our own life, in our modern times. We've got many examples. We have many examples. That's why I say, think about it. Just recently, one of the stories is this man, this Gujarati guy, he bought the East India Company. Right? The East India Company. He didn't just buy a company called East India. He bought the East India Company with its logo and with everything else. And this is like one shop in London where he's selling some teas. Right? What am I saying to you? Read this book called Anarchy, The Anarchy, by William Dalrymple. He's written about the East India Company. We are talking about a multinational corporation, the wealth of which was more than nations. We're talking about a multinational corporation which had military power and which had been given the right to wage war by Elizabeth I, the Queen of England. We have the East India Company was a company which waged war in China and India, which conquered territory, which killed people, slaughtered them completely without a second glance. In India, it conquered sovereign states with their rulers. They imposed rules. They imposed all kinds of laws of their own, and they enslaved an entire nation, and they did that for 100 years, for 1 century. Today, irony of fate, there's this Indian Gujarati who buys that company. Because all that is left of the company is that shop. Just the name, corporate organization, because it's got a name. What more do you want? How many more examples do we want to show that human arrogance is worthless? It doesn't matter whether you are a king or a queen or whether you are an individual, a common, random citizen, garden lizard variety like myself. If you are arrogant about anything, whether it is arrogance about money, whether it is arrogance about power and authority, whether it's arrogance about, physical beauty, or whether it's arrogance about knowledge, including the knowledge of Islam, that has only one ending, and that ending is destruction. This is the lesson that we are getting from the story of Hud alayhi salam. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Hud, and when our commandment came, we saved Hud and those who believed with him by a mercy from us. And this is the reason why we must continue to do da'wah, because it is the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves those who continue to do good work, who continue to warn people, who continue to invite people towards the truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves them. And Allah said, and we saved them from a severe torment. Such were the Ad, the people. They rejected the ayat, they rejected the evidence of their Rabb and disobeyed his messengers and followed the command of every proud, obstinate oppressor of the truth from their leaders. So they followed their leaders, they did not follow the Anbiya. And they were pursued by a curse in this world, and so they will be on the day of resurrection. No doubt, verily, Ad disbelieved in their Rabb, so away with the people of Hud. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, this is what they did, and that is what they will pay for. And then Allah said, and to the Ad, we send their... Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told this to understand from, and to so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the whole story. So we understand from this. Now think about this and say, how does this apply to us today? It applies to us because we are looking at a situation where we have similar things in our lives. Now you might say, well, I'm not killing anybody. No, you're not killing anybody. But maybe in terms of who you support, what you do, what you don't do, maybe you are supporting a system which is unjust. For example, we have in our society striations and divisions based on economic well-being. The rich and the poor, huge divide between the rich and the poor. Islam does not allow this to happen. Islam says, share your wealth, help other people to also become wealthy. Help them in what they do, relieve suffering, alleviate suffering. The whole issue is, what do you do? What do I do with the resources that Allah has given us? Allah will not ask us how much did you have, because we will have what Allah gives us. Allah will ask us, what did you do with what you had? If I had wealth and I use this wealth to help other people, then inshallah this wealth is a blessing for me. If I have knowledge and I use this knowledge to communicate something good to people, to help people, to enable people to live their lives well, irrespective whether it's religious knowledge or other knowledge, if I am using it for a good purpose, inshallah, having this knowledge is a good thing for me, and doing this is a good thing for me. If I have political power and authority and I am using it in order to establish justice, in order to be compassionate, in order to alleviate suffering, in order to help those in need, my political authority, if I'm using it for all that, alhamdulillah, this is very good. But if it is the opposite, if I have wealth and I'm just using it for ostentation, satisfying of my own desires, and I don't help anybody, if I have knowledge, I keep that knowledge to myself, I don't teach people, I make this knowledge a means of earning money for myself alone. In certain cases, I am dead against earning money for teaching the kitab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for teaching the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But alhamdulillah, I'm not getting into the if those who are doing it getting a salary and so on, if somebody is doing it, let them do it. But I'm just saying that if our knowledge, our wealth, our authority, position, if it is resulting in suffering for others, then believe me, a day will come when we will pay for this. That day will come in this life, and that day will come in the life of the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us example after example to illustrate this, to teach us this, and it's up to us to learn. And if we don't learn, then we will pay for this. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the sense to learn to do the things that we should be doing, and to save us from ourselves, because otherwise, my brothers and sisters, once the curtain lifts, once we see Malakul Maut, once the angels come and we see them, there is no turning back. There is no erasing, there is no istighfar, there is no tawbah, there is no correcting of ourselves. All of that must happen while we are alive. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu to enable us to live this life in a way which is pleasing to Him, and to save us from all that does not please Him. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.